Okay, welcome to LS573, and today we're going to talk about computer and computer networks. A network. What is a network? We talk about networks all the time, but in information technology, let's see what a network is. A network is a collection of computers and devices connected together via communication devices and transmission media. And so then a network is a group of computers that are connected to each other, and they communicate data between them. What are some of the advantages? Is facilitating communication, sharing hardware, sharing data and information, and sharing software. Networking. A generic term, node or host, refers to any device on a network. So any device, any computer refers to a node or a host. Data transfer rate. The speed in which data is moved from one place on the network to another place. Data transfer rate is a key issue in computer networks. And I think we all have experiment in when we do have a internet connection at home. When we always, even in our mobile devices, we may say, this connection is slow or fast. That makes a big difference, and that's the transfer rate, the data transfer rate. That makes a big difference in terms of how fluent the communication is. Bandwidth. Data transfer rate is measured in bits, not bytes, per second. And here some of the most common measures. We have kilobits per second, we have megabits per second, and we have gigabits per second. Networking. Net- Computer networks have opened up an entire frontier in the world of computing called client-server model, and this is what we usually have. We have a client-server model. So we have a server, maybe the email server, and we have a request from the client computer, and we have a response. Okay, that's the model that we use today in most networks. Networks. Now let's see the different type of network. One is called the LAN, or the local area network. A local area network is a network that connects computers and devices in a limited geographical area. And the Ethernet standard for data transfer are 10 base, 100 base T, and 1000 base T. Local area network. A network of computers that are in the same physical location, such as a home or building. And we can build a local area network that may be wired or wireless. Okay, stand usually connected using the Ethernet, a standard on how computers communicate over a shared media with a cable. And nowadays, if we're going to do a LAN, a local area network, we will use this kind of connector. And this is in terms of physical transmission media. We can use a twisted pair cable. We can use coaxial cable or fiber optic cable. Okay. Networks. Now we have it. Before I mentioned the local area network, and now we have a wireless local area network, and it's called WLAN or WLAN. It's a LAN that uses not physical wire. And we have the standards. Now we have other, more uh, faster transfer rates, but these were the standards A02.11. And if you go to any store to get a modem, you will see that they always refers to A02.11. Maybe not anymore G or A or B, but other denominations. And we usually use security, and two ways of use security is WEP or WPI. Networks. A metropolitan area network man connects LANs in a metropolitan area. And a wide area network is a network that covers a large geographical area. networks. The design of computers, devices, and media on a network is sometimes called the network architecture. We have the model, the client server network, and the peer to peer network. P2P describe an internet network in which users access each other's hard disk, exchange files directly over the internet. Okay, that's called a P2P model or a P2P transmission or communication. Type of networks. Various configurations called topologies have been to use to administer LANs, local area network. The ring typology, a configuration that connects all nodes in a closed loop on which messages travel in one direction. The star topology, a configuration that centers around one node to which all others are connected and through which all messages are sent. And the bus typology, all nodes are connected to a single communication line that carries the message in both directions. I think I have three figures here that illustrate the network typology. And these are the communication standards that we use in networks. We have the Ethernet, the Bluetooth, RFID, TCP/IP, UWB, WiMAX, Wi-Fi, IRDA, and WAP. And there may be others too. These are only examples. Technology, and we have to take that into consideration, changes very rapidly. Okay, so I'm sure there are many more protocols of communication. Network communication standards. Ethernet is a network standard that specifies that not computer controls when data can be transmitted. TCP/IP is a network standard that defines how messages are routed from one end of a network to another. TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. TCP software breaks messages into packets, hands them off to the IP software for delivery, and then orders and reassembles the packets at their destination. IP stands for Internet Protocol. IP software deals with the routing of packets through the maze of interconnected networks to their final destination. Of course, most of these things are transparent for us, but it's good for you to know, at least know the definitions of these terms. Wi-Fi, this is what we use to connect our mobile devices. Identify any network based on a AO2.11 standard that facilitate wireless communication, sometimes referred to as a wireless Ethernet. Network communication standards. Bluetooth, we all have used that, or most all, defines how two Bluetooth devices use short-range radio wave to transmit data. UWB specify how two UWB devices use short-range radio wave to communicate at high speeds. IRDA transmit data wireless via infrared light wave. RFID uses radio signal to communicate with a tag placed or in or attached to an object, animal, person, or a book, for example. RFID uses radio signal to communicate with a tag placed in or attached to an object, animal, or person. Detect unauthorized removal of library materials. This is many libraries use this. Speed staff charge and discharge. This is in circulation. And simplify and speed patron self charge and self discharge. Support electronic inventory and shelf searching. Other communication standards are the WiMAX and the Wireless Application Protocol. And now, firewall. A firewall is a machine and its software that serve as a special gateway to a network, protecting it from inappropriate access. Security is very important. Filters that network traffic that comes in, checking the validity of the messages as much as possible, and perhaps denying some messages altogether. Enforces an organization access control policy, and every organization has that policy. Now we have a figure of how that firewall works. This is the internet users here, and they try to enter this local area network, and we have the firewall here that enforces the policy access of the organization. DMC is a physical logical subnetwork that contains and exposes an organization's external facing services to a larger untrusted network, usually the internet. The purpose of a DMC is to add additional layer of security to an organization local area network. An external attacker has only access to equipment in the DMC rather than any other part of the network. The name is derived from the demilitarized zone area between nation states in which military action is not permitted. Okay, here we can see the firewall, and we can see how this is protected. This is the DMC here. So here you have access to the internet, but we have another firewall here that doesn't let any communication go inside of the local area network unless it's authorized by the protocols, right? And here we have, this is very interesting because here, remember in the first class when we talk about turnkey and standalone and open source and hosted system, well, we have to be very careful about security, okay? So in the case of when we have a turnkey system, remember we in the library are the ones who administer the network, okay? So security even with open source. With hosted, it's a different matter because the hosted model, our server or the server of the library is located at the uh, provider. So they take care of network security. But if we have a turnkey or a standalone or an open source, then we have to take care of our data. Communication software. Communication software consists of programs that help users establish a connection to another computer of network or network, manage the transmission of data, instruction, and information, provide an interface for users to communicate with one another. Communications over the telephone network, dial-up phones, dial-up lines, for example. I don't know if they're available. That used to be in the past, so we don't use that anymore. But other standards are ISDN line, T-carrier line, dedicated line, FTTP, and ATM and DSL. DSL is what we use at home mostly. And here are the speeds and also some rates, monthly cost. Okay. Of course, it depends on the market too. Oh, this I remember this. This is in the early 1980s. We used a modem. It was a modulator, demodulator, and it was analog. And so when you were using your computer, you could listen to the data being transferred. It was really slow, but at the time in the 1980s, early 80s, I would say 80, 82, maybe 83, it was really something amazing. It was called a modem, and there was an acoustic one. This one at the top, that's the acoustic one, and you use it with your telephone. Now it may be a museum piece. Communications over the telephone network, ADSL connects transmit data downstream at a much transfer rate that upstream. Communication devices. A communication device is any type of hardware capable of transmitting data, instructions, and information between sending device and receiving device. A dial-up modem converts signals between analog and digital. Communications devices. A digital modem sends and receives data and information to and from a digital line. That's what we call a digital modem or a DCL modem. Communication devices. A wireless modem uses a cell phone network to connect to the internet wirelessly from a notebook, computer, smartphone, or any other mobile device. Of course, you have to pay. None of this stuff is free. A network card enables a computer or device to access the network. This is also transparent to us, but if you build up your own computer, you have to buy a network card so enable to connect to the internet, either wireless or wired. Available in variety of styles. A wireless network card often have an antenna. A wireless access point is a central communication device that allows computers and devices to transfer data wirelessly among themselves or to a wired network. A router, and maybe you have one at home, connects multiple computers or other routers together and transmits data to its correct destination on a network. Many are protected by a hardware firewall. Communications devices. A hub or switch connects several devices in a network together. And these are the hubs right here. Communication channel. The amount of data that can travel over a communication channel is sometimes called bandwidth. Latency is the time it takes a signal to travel from one location to another on a network. Transmission media carries one or more signals. Broadband media transmit multiple signals simultaneously. And here we have some transfer rates for different type of physical media. I'm not going to read them. You can browse them later or read them later. Here we have wireless transmission media, and we have transfer rate for wireless transmission media. Okay. Wireless transmission media cellular radio is a form of broadcast radio that is used widely for mobile communications, and that is what we use for our mobile phones. There is also called some microwave, a radio wave that provides a high-speed signal transmission. And of course, there is a communication satellite. And there are some, I guess, I have never used one, but there are some phones that you use to communicate and use a satellite to communicate. So you can be anywhere in the world, like say in the middle of the jungle, and the telephone works because you're not using a cellular radio, you are using a satellite communications. So when you use satellite communication, is you can be anywhere and you are always communicating. Okay. I think please make sure you review all these definitions because these are important that you have an idea of some of the hardware and software involved in the networks, being a local area network, a LAN, being a wireless local area network, or being the internet. Okay, thank you.